What's going on, Bolt fam? So today I'm going to be making a different video because I made a video last night after I got home from the game and I wasn't happy at all. And I get it, I was emotional, I was just angry. Being a Chargers fan, it does that to you. After all the hype in the preseason, I was just ready to go. You know, everything we heard, this team finally being healthy, we have all these Pro Bowlers on our team, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and a few different things. But I want to take some of the positives away or what we're going to do next because we get it. Look, Staley, I don't know if the Chargers haven't been an organization to fire a coach midway, at least in a while. So I feel like we're going to be stuck with Staley all season long. I would like to think that's not going to be the case, but I can't defend you anymore, Staley. At this point, if this defense doesn't even become average, I would have fired you after the Jaguars game, but here we are again. We're going to go through a season of Staley, and what can we expect at this point? What do we want at this point? Like, I think the bare minimum at this point would be, can you get this defense to just be average? It has way too many Pro Bowlers for you to not be at the very least number 16th defensively. Herbert and this Kellen Moore offense can carry us with the win. I mean, against Miami, if we could have just stopped them one more time, which wasn't a lot to ask for since they only punted once, that wasn't a lot to ask for. I just, the game plan was horrible. That's why I feel like there's something to be said about playing some guys in preseason, because I feel like some of these guys probably came out rusty. You can't really get into game shape without actually playing the game. Scrimmages aren't going to get you there, so that's why I think it is important to play some guys during the preseason. But regardless, there's no excuse right now, right? What happened. I know we're all upset, we're all a little heartbroken, but I want this team to grow. I want this organization to have a little more respect. I want to eliminate this curse of not being able to win when it matters most. I want this team to grow. I want it to have a true fan base here at home. So how do we do that? Like, how do we begin to change the narrative for this team? Because this is a really make it or break it year for the Chargers. Because if we don't do well next year, we are going to be cleaning house. I think we should at that point. I think it's time to get this salary cap back in check. Obviously, we are showing, sorry about my voice, is still a little beat up after the game, but we are obviously showing that it doesn't matter how many Pro Bowlers you have. I see a lot of teams, especially great caliber teams, that are finding great players in later rounds and making them productive players. I see a team like the Kansas City Chiefs that don't have many superstars on their defense, but they still find a way to shut teams down. They find a way to make their teams productive, and they don't need to be a top defense, but you see that they make stop when it matters, and we don't get that with the Chargers, even with all the talent that they have. So what's the point of paying all these guys all this money if we're not even going to make it count? So I'm just kind of in that situation where it's like, what are we doing? Why are we paying? Why are we so over the salary cap next year just to get the results that we're getting right now? At this point, I have to say, I hate to even say this because I have some of your jerseys, man, but Joey Bosa, I may be out on you. You're not. I knew you weren't as good as Nick, but I didn't know that the difference between you two was that far apart. You're not that guy. And you're, what, 28, 29 now? You're not going to be that guy. I have to be okay with that, because I'm not going to expect you to all of a sudden turn this around. I'm sure you'll have a good game or two, but you're kind of similar to me to Mike Williams, where it's like, we all know you could be monsters and great players, but you disappear at times. You make poor decisions at times, and you're just too inconsistent. You're also very injury prone. You're not worth the money that we're paying you, and honestly, if the Chargers can find a way to trade you, I am 1,000% on board with that. We're obviously seeing that, Pro Bowlers doesn't really make a great team. But again, it's not just blaming the defensive players. It's more, I don't like Staley's scheme. Aaron Donald made that defense a lot better than what it was. And I don't know whether it was just how great great those players were, because Aaron Donald is generational, especially at that time, that really push Staley's narrative of being this defensive genius. I don't think he had that personnel here, so he's just not being able to replicate it. But I don't like his scheme for our players. I don't like where we position Bosa. Same thing with Mac at his age. Uh, I like us more in a 43 defense than a 34 defense. I don't like the way we use Kenneth Murray. I think he does have potential, but I don't think the system fits him whatsoever. I think that's why when he played that 43 defense his rookie season, he led the team in tackles. I think he led rookies in tackles. He can still be a great player. I just feel like Staley's system doesn't put Murray in the best position to be successful. Again, I've already been watching like a lot of recaps and podcasts about last night's game, and everyone agreed that it's like, we understand J.C. Jackson's getting paid what he's paid. He needs to, produce at that level. But to put a guy that came off such a serious injury one-on-one with Tyreek Hill, why? Why was he even one-on-one with no safety help? What are we doing? Staley, these are things that people that aren't even professionals are being able to notice. How aren't you noticing this? I know I wanted to talk about, like, what do we do going forward? It's hard to, like, have a conversation with neglecting everything we just saw yesterday, because now it's like, I don't know what to think of the rest of the year, because we have a ton of good offenses coming this year. And I think the thing that's, like, really heartbreaking, it's like, you thought that this team would be ready, be fired up to change the narrative of what happened in Jacksonville. Did we just take 2 straight L's? Does this team really come back from that kind of loss? And the reason I didn't want Staley back after that loss, I remember, I forget the head coach's name. I think he's the defensive coordinator right now for the Cowboys, but he was the head coach for the Falcons the year that they blew that crazy lead in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady. And they still kept them the year after that. I think there is a stench and just a bad aura when you lose a game like that Falcons team never recovered. It just became mediocre after that and eventually faded. He lost his job. And I think that's kind of maybe where the Chargers are. That bad aura, that bad taste in their mouth is still there. Sometimes you just need a shift when you have such an atrocious loss. So that's kind of where I'm at, is just maybe we do need a change. And I hate that it's going to come down to this, because I had so much hype for this season. And like I said, they could turn it around, but I just don't know if I could trust them anymore. At this point, you think week 1 you'd be more ready, especially against someone that's considered a rival at this point. I still don't know if you're going to have a good game plan against the Chiefs. What are you going to do against the other teams coming? But I want to change the narrative for this team. I want us to have a bigger impact in the league. So I love this team, and that's just kind of where I'm at. It's not going away. Here I am. I'm a Chargers fan for life. I chose you 16 years ago, and I'm just going to keep riding it. But I think it's okay to demand more from our team. Next season, if it comes down to us not being successful enough this year, I mean, obviously, I think it's time for Telesco to go, Staley to go. I think it's time we eliminate most of the big contracts on this team, outside of maybe Derwin James. But even if we have to take a hit on J.C. Jackson, I might be okay with that. Or have him as a third stringer. It's just, we can't continue to put him out there if he's just not going to produce. Why put the rest of the team in jeopardy? Start Davis. Davis showed a lot of promise last year and 2 years ago. I know he had one down year, but there's no need to hurt the team just to start someone because of what they're getting paid. How can we put Khalil Mack in a better situation at his age to be more productive? We're probably stuck with Bosa until another year or two. How can we make him productive at this point in time? Like I said, I'm a bigger fan of the 43 defense. That's why I think. But I mean, it's probably too late to change that now. I think it's time for Staley to give up calling defensive plays going forward. I just think at this point it can't get any worse. Staley, just focus on the big picture and figure it out from there. But we can't keep doing this. I can't go another year of bad defensive decisions. I'm very confident in Kellen Moore. So For me, it's just the defense at this point. Can you make some stops? Can we figure this out? I also don't like our defensive line, like the way it's constructed, because it doesn't seem like a big enough D-line, knowing that we are a 34 defense. Like, who's really out there to eat up blocks? I like Morgan Fox, but he's more of an end to, like a real defensive end to me. That he'd be great in a 43 defense. But in the 34, if you're asking him to kind of plug up lanes, I don't think that's going to be really his game. He's great at getting pass rush. Like I said already in a different video, Sebastian Joseph Day to me is extremely mid. The fact that we were super hyped on the fact that we signed him, I'm like, why? What did you ever really do outside of being fortunate enough to play next to Aaron Donald? I don't understand where the hype came from when it came to Sebastian Joseph Day, because I almost never hear his name like brought up. Like, I don't know what he does. But yeah, like, it's just our team has been, a lot of the players we have just not been relevant enough. So I'm just trying to think of what we do going forward. How do we grow this team? Where do we go from here? Like, I don't even know what my expectation is against Titans and Derrick Henry. Their defense is great. I think the offense will be able to figure that out. But our defense, what now? Do we get ran all over? Does Tannehill look like a stud quarterback against us? What do we think? I don't know, Bullfan. I'm still kind of rambling just because, man, I just expected so much more. And how do you feel if we end up making, do you think they make a switch halfway through the season? Next season, does this team have any hype left? Like, after we let go of everyone? Do we want Kellen Moore as a new head coach? I mean, I ideally would like that. I would like for Justin Herbert to not have to worry about always changing an offense. It would be amazing for Justin Herbert to just be able to grow with one offense and master that, instead of every season learning something new. Like, can we get a little more consistency here, you know, in LA? I mean, look at what McVay is doing. This Ram team has some studs, but if you look at the rest of the roster, most of them are unknown. And look at what a coach like Sean McVay can get out of his players. He gets the best out of his players. Andy Reid gets the best out of his players. I'm really high on Shane Steichen because of not only what he did with Herbert, but Jalen Hurts. And I feel like Anthony Richardson is going to benefit so much being under Shane Steichen. I think he's going to be a great head coach. It's just hard for me to feel better after this. One win next week isn't going to make me feel better. I do have one important thing to kind of like hope to get an answer from anybody. Is just like, what do we do if at the bye we are under 500? What do we do? Does Staley stay? How do we feel if we go under 500 by the bye week? I don't know, man. I hate that my expectations have changed so much within the course of a day. And I don't know why this is different than last year. I know last year we had some disappointed losses, but this one feels really different because it just feels like it's the same old Chargers. And it gets exhausting to have to defend this team on the regular. Like, legitimately exhausting. Look, we're going to make a Titan preview video. And we'll still be as optimistic and positive as we can. I believe in Kellen Moore in this offense. And maybe Justin Herbert's going to have to put some ridiculous numbers going forward. Because he might have to be Superman all year long with the way this defense might play. But as much as I said I wanted to put my faith in Staley, I think that's gone out the window already in week 1. Now it's more like, can you regather the team? Can you regain our trust? Because I don't feel like anybody trusts Staley anymore. And a few games aren't going to change that. I want to see a season worth of coaching adjustments, because What I saw on Sunday was pathetic. You left such an electrifying receiver against a corner that just came back from a serious injury and hasn't really played much. The fact that they just kept beating us over the middle when that's what we took away last year to really shut them down. You didn't do that whatsoever. Man, it was, even when we got them in third down, we could not stop it. And it were always hitting us right down the middle. It was absolutely atrocious. But look, going forward, let's just kind of figure out, let's just see what this team's got up their sleeves. It's time for you to make some adjustments, Staley. So at this point, I'm not so much worried about the season. At this point, I'm going to be more worried about what Tom Telesco and Staley do, because I think this should be the year that either cost them or either makes or break them, whether they keep their jobs next year. So next year, my biggest thing, or next game, what kind of adjustments are you going to make? What is our defense going to look like after this game? What changes are you going to make? Are you going to be able to bring out the best out of the team that got out there this Sunday? Are you going to be able to change that? Have you lost the locker room? What is it going to be, Staley? So at this point, the Charger season will be focused on, but to me, it's going to be more Staley watch. What's going to happen this year? That's going to be the most interesting thing, because we're not going to win a Super Bowl if you don't make better decisions. If our defense doesn't improve, there's no chance. Especially in this AFC, especially with our schedule that we have a ridiculous amount of great offensive teams coming our way. What are we going to do against Jefferson? I'm not so worried about the Titans wide receivers, but obviously we got to worry about Henry. We still got to face Mahomes twice, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like, we have a lot of difficult games coming our way, and this defense cannot look like this. It cannot if we have any chance of surviving this season. If we have any chance to making the playoffs, we have to be better than this. Anyways, that was just kind of me. Like, I just kind of wanted to make a second video. I didn't even want to talk about stats. We all saw them. 2 through for almost 500 yards. We couldn't stop a nosebleed. Herbert played well. He didn't need to be Superman. We ran the ball extremely well. It's just, we all know where the deficiencies lied, and it's kind of where we're at. Great for Joshua Kelly, man. You came out, you played great, and I'm glad you're kind of restoring yourself after all the fumbles earlier in your career. You looked fantastic yesterday, and I'm excited to see more of you. The wide receiver core, you didn't really need to do much. Like I said, we ran the ball a lot. I know I've been tough on Mike, but it's just because I expect more from you. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We'll start working on a Titan preview video, but I just kind of wanted to come out with a little better head on my shoulder today, because I was just emotional yesterday. I was upset. I was clearly upset because it was just too much to handle. But anyways, I appreciate anybody for listening, and we'll talk soon. I know this was a tough one, but in my heart of hearts, I really want to believe that a storm is coming. Justin Herbert, I want this to be the year that you take over. I hope that this loss pissed you off so much that you are going to come out and just take over this team. Maybe this is what you needed. And that's going to be my one positive about this. Justin, you are the second highest paid quarterback in the league, and we all know the potential that you carry. But I want to see a different version of you next week. Not just next week, but the rest of the season. I want you to command your team. To me, Staley does not have the locker room, but you can be what changes that. The locker room can rally behind you. Carry this team the way every Charger fan believes you can. You are not judged by one game, but let's see how you can carry this roster. Because you know what? Something is true about this, and you know what? It just came to mind. Joe Burrow had an awful game, but you know what? I'm not worried about Burrow, because he's got that moxie, that confidence, and he's going to come back and he's going to fire. I've seen Joe Burrow come back from games where he threw 5 picks. He didn't care. He just came back and he just kept fighting through it. his team is not going to lose respect for him. They still know who the guy in that locker room is. And Herbert, it's time for you to carry this team. We all know you're the guy. We all know Staley is just an anchor to you. He's just weight on your ankles. So you're just going to have to carry that extra weight with you. Carry it to the finish line. Carry this defense. I want you to be in the MVP race. I want this to be something that really builds a fire in you. And you just come out and take over. You and Kellen Moore just take over. Whatever happens, I want to go down knowing that you did everything you could. And I'm still going to be here to support. But I want to see you take over entirely. Maybe that's just us putting too much on you, and that's unfortunate. But there's a reason you are the second highest paid quarterback in the league. You have a lot of weight on your shoulders, and now it's time for you to carry. It's not going to be easy. It may not lead to a Super Bowl, but I want to see you put everything on your shoulders and just really take over this team. Anyways, I'll see y'all the rest as we go on with the season, as we're on Staley watch. And let's see how long he can hang on to his job. Let's see if he can regain any of our trust. Who knows? Maybe that storm is still brewing. Maybe this could bring that storm to fruition. I guess we won't know till next week, right? Peace out, both fam.